So, the last but not least, the death doula. She's going to take us through the threshold. All right. While we're switching, please feel free to stretch.
Yes, please stretch.
Trisha Jauchler? Is it Jauchler?
Jauchler, yeah, yes. Good job.
All right. Experiential workshop, Live Fully, Die Well. She's a founder and director on Bright Wings. She's a trained death midwife, registered drama therapist and board certified trainer, ordained interfaith minister, and a trained death midwife. She does it at home, at everywhere, right?
Hospice and at the person's home.
Okay. Feel free to talk about yourself.
Oh, okay. Okay. You all been enjoying yourself? Yeah. So many new ideas. Or many old ideas said in a new way. Yes. Yes. Okay. Pardon me? Am I going to start? Yes. Okay. The art of living well and the art of dying well are one. That's from the Greek philosopher Epicurus. And my motto is live fully and die well. Okay, so I'm Trisha Jauchler. I am a certified thanatologist and a death doula. Defined a death doula, according to Canadian radio, is a death midwife or a death doula is a person who assists in the dying process, much like a midwife or doula does with the birthing process. It is often a community-based role, aiming to help families cope with death through recognizing it as a natural and important part of life. Practitioners perform a large variety of services, including but not limited to creating death plans and providing spiritual, psychological, and social support before and just after death. Their role can also include more logistical activities, such as helping with services, planning funerals and memorial services, and guiding mourners in their rights and responsibilities. I believe that death doulas and the death midwife movement arose from a desire to reclaim death on a personal level. We started out in the funeral industry. We have been letting basically them take over everything. They whisk away the body. They take care of the aftercare of the body. They lay out the body for us to view, and then they whisk it away and bury it. And we don't even get to see the casket go into the ground anymore. Now we leave the casket there at the cemetery and go away. So there's this lack of closure that we have, which interferes with our grieving process, but also interferes with our living process. Because I think that when it comes to dying, the more fully and the more appreciative you can experience life, the more you're going to be able to have what they call good death or die well. We started out, the funeral industry really started with the Civil War. And the fact that so many people were dying away from home meant that embalmers came into being so that they could preserve the body so that they could go back to their home. Then with the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, and the fact that his body had to get all the way from Washington to Springfield, Illinois, again, the embalming, it kind of normalized the embalming process, and everyone started doing it. Everyone started embalming their dead. And then as we entered the 20th century, then death started to become medicalized. More people started dying in hospitals instead of at home. Again, we let our dead go. So the death positive movement's goal is to reclaim a personal relationship with death by caring for our dying at home through palliative and hospice care, and supplemented by practical and emotional support. So what do? I provide a lot of support. I provide a forum for life review. I offer legacy work for folks in order for them to be able to pass on something or to feel that they have a legacy to impart to their future generations. I provide aromatherapy. I provide massage. I talk and listen. So it's very much a present and encounter activity. When I think of spirituality, I think of the spirituality of presence. I think of the spirituality of the encounter, the eye contact, the touch, the community. These are all forms of spirituality that comes from togetherness. It's also, in many ways, it is a way of creativity. We have inspiration, and we just did that with the big breaths. We have inspiration, we have expiration, and then we expire. So creativity is another aspect, I think, of spirituality. So that's another element of my work. I'm a death doula. I'm also a registered drama therapist. And drama therapy is the use of theater techniques to facilitate personal growth and promote mental health. That's according to the NADTA. It's an active, experiential approach to facilitating change. Through storytelling, projective play, purposeful improvisation and performance, participants are invited to rehearse desired behaviors, practice being in relationship, and expand and find flexibility between roles and perform the change they wish to be and see in the world. So, along those lines, between the creativity and the inspiration and encounter that comes with the personal is where I build my practice. Now, we've heard a little bit about other creative arts therapies, music therapy, and how valuable that is in hospice and palliative care. Art therapy is also another very valuable tool. Drama therapy is a little bit, that was a challenge for me because it implies action. It implies, getting up and doing stuff, and that is not the dying experience necessarily. So how was I going to blend these two very different but very valuable tools into a philosophy for death and dying. I think with the community aspect, I think fear of death comes from the unknown, really. From not experiencing our loved one's death ourselves, from not having a hands-on experience with their bodies and after death, to not having a say-so in our memorial services or our funerals. So much of the drama comes through ritual. Ritual is a very valuable part of the dramatic experience. And it's especially useful in home funerals and being able to actually create your own presentation of a person's life. I also use the community aspect in education because I think that the more we know about something, the less we have to fear it. So I have developed a theater on the threshold, which goes into the community, into community centers and churches and senior centers, and we combine some of the drama therapy tools of playback theater and improv and the family therapy technique of sculpting to create an improvised theater piece that has to do with some aspect of dying. And then afterwards, of course, we have a discussion afterwards and allow people to bring in their fears and their questions so that we can answer them. I also, on Bright Wings, my center also hosts death cafes, which is basically something that came from England, and it's in a cafe-like atmosphere. You talk about death and dying, realizing that you are a finite human being, and it's again an opportunity to get the conversation started. It is through talking, it is through sharing, it is through experience that we can eliminate or at least lessen the fear around that surrounds this great unknown, this actual last rite of passage that we have. And wouldn't that be a wonderful paradigm shift if we were able to actually see death as the final act, the final creative act of our lives. We do all sorts of preparation work for things like, religious coming of age, bar mitzvahs, and Holy Communion. We prepare for these things. We prepare for rites of marriage, and we have the retirement ceremonies when we are finished with our work and go on to the next phase. Well, there's a rite of passage that happens with death too, and it is that great expiration that we're talking about, the inhale and then the exhale. Now, when I say living fully, I don't mean living busily, and that's, I think, we've kind of confused the two in our lives. We pack our days full of things, and boy, that shows that we got so much done and we had such a productive day. I'm going to invite you to look at it a little bit differently and look at living fully as more experiencing fully. The wonderful thing that happens when we start embracing the concept of death is that life can be experienced at a much deeper level. And it doesn't have anything to do with everything that you're doing. It means it has everything to do with truly experiencing where you are in the moment, in the now. So that's what we're talking about. And that's really the paradox, is that the more you talk about death through death cafes, through theater on the threshold, through, I also do Death Goes to the Movies, and we watch a movie and talk about it. Anything to get the conversation started, and you notice that things have a deeper meaning for you. I was walking here on my way in, and oh gosh, it's so beautiful out there right now. And the clouds and the way the light's going and the breeze on your face. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about living, experiencing fully. And that's really the gift that comes with death positive, if you want to call it that, with the new shift in looking at death as not so much an end of life, but as part of life. There's birth, there's death, and life is what happens in the middle there. So my center, On Bright Wings, our mission is to educate, support, and guide our clients and their loved ones to a fearless and healing acceptance of aging and death as a natural part of life's journey. And living fully is the happy byproduct, which is what I just said. We provide education, support, and guidance for aging, advanced planning, death planning, bedside support and companionship, legacy work, vigiling, bereavement support, and a whole lot more. I serve as liaison between hospice and the person. I do practical things like help someone get rid of their possessions so that their families don't have to do it. Right now I have a client that she's decided that she wants to die by the ocean, so I am helping her find an apartment. So there's not really anything that is not covered from end-of-life work, because it's about living till the end of life, and it's about quality of life. I think that the more that we can prepare and get comfortable with the fact that we are indeed finite beings on this planet, I think the better off not only we're going to be, but what we're going to teach our children. And if you think about death and how we die as being a learning tool for the next generation, and as they watch us die, they're learning how to die themselves, then it truly does become a legacy that we're creating, and a gift we're giving. So I was going to do a little bit of experiential, just to show you what I meant by some of these terms that I was using in the playback theater and the sculpting. Is anyone familiar with sculpting? Okay. Sculpting was developed by Virginia Satir and family therapy. It became part of her work with families. And what I find very helpful about sculpting is that it is not too active, and it's directable by the person who's dying. When we talk about death, much of what we fear is loss of control. This is a way of giving control back to the person in being able to be a director in their own lives. So I am going to ask for a volunteer. Oh, yay, thank you. What is your name? Melani. Thank you, Melani. So, oh, you're just perfectly ready to work. That's it. Hi, glad to meet you. So what we do with sculpting is we use the audience here as living clay, so to speak. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a statue, a living sculpture, using audience members as your clay. And I'm going to tell you. What I'd like you to do is think about suffering. And what would suffering look like to you? And again, choose people in the audience, and you can put them in whatever position that they need to be to create this living sculpture of suffering.
Okay. How many people do I use?
As many as you need. I want to compliment you all. This is not easy to do this without even knowing what you're doing. So as you see, as she's pulling people out, we're building a community here. We're becoming less unknown to each other. We are now all participating in a common goal that has to do with a common end. So we're building community.
Can you be in the middle? Can you be behind me?
And you can show them, okay, good. Show them, position them how you need them to be. Before you explain it, I wonder if someone else would share what you're seeing as we're looking at this. Yes?
I don't see the suffering. I see support. Suffering is a grimace on the face. Suffering is someone in isolation by themselves. That is what I see for suffering. I don't, maybe my
So-
view, everyone is different. I'm sorry, that's what I see.
That's fine. That's fine. And what we're finding out is that what we maybe conceptualize, someone else sees very differently. Yeah. So you see support. That's wonderful. Okay.
I see an interconnectedness. Like it's like the whole is suffering. Maybe not just a particular person is suffering, but that group is suffering together.
Ah, okay. All right. So again, another thing that we're looking at here. Anyone else? Now you can tell us.
What's your first name?
So this is Anne, and she is my worst fear. I'm really scared to be not being able to move. And you inspire me being here. I have 2 kids, and I just want to fully live for them. And so you are an inspiration. Every single one of these people are people who are not in my life, or they're my kids. So you represent my father, who I completely miss, who died 4 years ago. I miss my dad. You look like my mom, who I lost 25 years ago. My life. I miss my mom. You represent my son, my strong son, who's getting ready to go to college in 3.5 years, and I'm grieving him leaving me now. And you're my sweet daughter, who's Japanese. Can you see she's Japanese? My daughter is Japanese, too. Mieko. Her name means already prosperous. I have like 5 years with her left. She's in 6th grade. I'm grieving my kids leaving me. And then he was with Anne, so I just left him up there. So I figured, well, he can be kind of like my friends and my family. But to me, I miss my parents so much. And I came to this class because I'm scared to die. And I don't know why I'm scared to die, because my parents will be there with me. But I'm scared to leave my kids. I feel like I haven't taught them enough yet. So I'm busily, what else can I teach them? What else can I teach them? And then I learned this weekend about listening and being more present with my kids. And so I have a lot to learn.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me share.
Absolutely. And thank you for being so open. I wonder if I can get you to use the same sculpting material and show us what being present looks like to you. What does it mean to be present? To be in the now? Oh, so how has it changed? More energy. So what's the difference then for Milani here? What is the difference between suffering and being present? Took away the fear. Acceptance. Fearlessness. Anyone up here want to say what the difference is for you? How you feel different in both those positions that you were in?
There's a lot more joy in this being present. I felt more of a sense of compassion with the suffering in the position I was in, but more of a joyful position.
Okay, so maybe a feeling shift, an emotional shift. Okay, anything else?
Feeling
when you're truly present, those kinds of things happen. You get information from somewhere else. Okay, thank you all.
It's good.
You okay? Thank you. Do you mind just, I don't think we have a chair here, but I just wonder if anyone would like to share with Milani what that was like for you, watching her process, watching, what, yes?
You're so incredibly brave for being open, honest, and sharing what part of your life was. Like, I really thank you for that.
Just accept it. Whatever folks are saying, just accept it. Yes. Yes. Nice to know. Yes. You get to say, you get to have the last word. Do you have any? And if there isn't a last word, that's okay too.
Hi, Mom and Dad.
Thank you. In my view, that was a spiritual act that we just saw. That is bringing spirituality into the community and sharing personal experience in a way that helps another person embody what your concept is. But it also gives room for other viewpoints. You know, some of you didn't see suffering. Some of you saw something else. And that's where, again, we can come together and appreciate being different, being other than the same. Yes?
Yeah, so going back to this, I realize now that your struggle with concept of death is also based on your memories of her mother and father and all of those who have passed on for us, and it almost ties into our previous speaker who talked about your memories and how that changes you.
Good point. Okay. Any other comments? Yes.
But you can't really understand somebody else's suffering, that it is theirs, and then you just stay.
That's it. That's it. Everyone who was up here with Milani was supporting her through their participation. And really, that's what we're talking about. I think we think of death as being this very lonely process where, you come in alone and you go out alone and there's just, you got to do it yourself. But there's so much more community that can be involved in that. And in the grand mega scheme of things, that is what the death positive movement and what death doulas try to do, is bring it into the community and bring the unknown known and concretized right there in front of you so that it's not scary anymore. So that it becomes a profound experience. And that is the goal of the work that we do, is in making death that spiritual act where it is a profound and deeply holy experience. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you all so much.
I actually do have a comment, or actually I want to add something. Trisha, thank you for being a voice for the end of life doula, which I know a lot of people don't know. And Trisha is a colleague. I'm also a deaf doula, and I think what I would, thank you. I think what's so wonderful about being in a setting like this is that just as we have seen how the birth model has changed so much. And when my children were born, there was no birth midwife or a birth doula on staff. And I think what's happening here is so profound because it's this little opening of seeing that maybe in the future we can recognize that there's so much more to death and dying, and that the support for it is beyond what the current model can provide. So instead of really continuously trying to squeeze more and more out of the current model, let's open up and see what other sources of support we can find and bring them into the model, just like we did in the birth movement. So I think that I would just wanted to add that for everybody to kind of put their thinking caps on how we can do that. Thank you, Trisha.
Thank you, Brigitte. Okay. Well, now you're full of all these wonderful ideas, and now you get to go and find out how to integrate it into your own lives. That's an adventure. Happy discovering.
Thank you, everybody, for coming and staying and holding the chalice in which this meditation could happen. And for your hearts, thank you for that.